This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Welcome to Island Treasures, a place for caregivers to hear encouragement from other caregivers who, by sharing their experiences, offer helpful information and resources for your caregiving journey. This podcast is brought to you by Alongside Caregiver Consulting, and I am your host and caregiving consultant, Alison Van Schie from beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Today I'm speaking with Natalie Hankins. Natalie describes herself as a busy mompreneur as she cares for her 2 adult children, both with special needs. You'll hear about her 29-year journey caregiving for her son who was diagnosed with autism and her daughter who has the rare condition of Wolf-Hirschhorn Syndrome. So without further ado, here's Natalie Hankins to share her story and what she does now as a mompreneur serving other caregivers and busy women entrepreneurs. Welcome, Natalie. It's so great to have you join me on the Island Treasures podcast for caregivers.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started with you sharing your caregiving story.
Okay. Well, I have 2 now adult children with special needs. Now they're adults. My son has autism and my daughter has Wolf-Hirschhorn Syndrome, which is a very rare chromosomal disorder. So she's missing a piece of her 4th chromosome. So my caregiving story started 29 years ago because my son is turning 29.
Wow.
And it's hard to believe he's that old, but yes. And so we had no idea, of course, when he was born that he had autism, but it was kind of the classic. As a baby, I remember him arching his back and he didn't want to be held and just crying a lot. And then, by age 2, we only had 2 words. And so we did get the diagnosis and started the therapy and all of that stuff. And, by 5th grade, he still couldn't have a conversation. And so I actually decided to start a relationship development therapy with him at home to teach him relationship and language skills through activities of daily living. And so I also homeschooled for over 7 years. And I'm just very proud to say that his verbal IQ has increased by 29 points over the years. Wow. That's been documented. And now we just have an amazing connection. And I live in the miracle of having a conversation with him every day.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah. But I will say, so I dedicated over 20 years of my life helping the 2 of them reach their full potential. My daughter had several challenges as far as she couldn't walk, talk, or eat. We sent her to a feeding program at Children's Hospital in Virginia. And so eventually, and I did therapy with her too, and she now can walk, talk, and definitely eat. So I basically spent, over 20 years of my life just helping them reach their full potential. And I'm glad I did that. But, by the time they aged out of the school system, I was like, how am I going to have the energy to continue this for the next 20 years?
Right. And how did you answer yourself?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, that's when I discovered one of Tony Robbins' coaching institutes. and became a life coach. So I had started reading the book, Awaken the Giant Within, to try to figure out like what brings people happiness for my son, right? He also has mood disorder. And as I'm reading the book, it's like, this is amazing for me because he talks about, making your impact on the world through giving your unique contribution to the world, right? And serving and living your purpose. And I just feel like it's my purpose to be a life coach and help other women have the confidence to live their purpose through their lives and their businesses. And so I'm just, my heart's on fire with what I do. And, I've helped women who are entrepreneurs, who have kids on the spectrum, and also there was one person who, and I think this is a God thing. One person was brought to me whose child also has Wolf-Hirschhorn Syndrome, because that's very rare. So the chances that she found me through an old link that I had, that was just a God connection, I thought. So I helped her relaunch her life coaching business. So I just love what I do. And I just really needed that to fuel myself, right? I think if we don't fill our own cups, right, then we won't have that energy that we need for our lives. And, so I just think it's so important, like even if you are choosing to stay at home with your loved ones as you care for them, it's just so important to find something for you that's going to fill you up.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just giving all the time, and you're depleting your own supplies and your own reserves for what pleases you and gives you strength and energy. What's the age difference in your two children?
Well, I believe it's 18 months because my daughter was born 3 months premature.
Boy.
Yeah. So she's a miracle baby. She was born 2 pounds. And she had an APGAR score of 2 out of 10 when she was born. But she's a fighter. I mean, she really pulled through. And everybody should definitely connect with me on social media. Natalie Hankins 5, I believe, because she is always like coming up with these amazing quotes that I end up posting.
Oh, wow.
I think she said something like, well, life is hard, but we just push through it, or something like that. I mean, you would think I'd be feeding her this stuff, but really it just comes out of her mouth. I don't know. And then I just post it. But yeah, she's come such a long way. I'm so proud of both of them. And yeah, I just wish I had a life coach, right? But I didn't even know that life coaches were a thing, those 20 years that I was helping them reach their full potential, because at the same time, I could have been, fueling myself, right? And so that's, of course, what I help other women do. I have this amazing life zone strategy where we'll look at 5 of your most important life zones. So you could choose family or business or, self-care, social, whatever's most important to you. And then we'll access your core values for taking action in each of those life zones. And then I'm also a mindset coach. I have a second certification from the life coach school. And so it's like and mindset is important for everything, because we actually create our results with our thoughts. And so I bring in the mindset coaching with everything that I do, every single session, because, we've got to be focused on those empowering thoughts so that we can take action towards our goals.
So back to the caregiving, before you knew all of this, when you were completely entrenched in caregiving yourself, and you said you didn't have a life coach, you didn't know about them, what supports did you have during that 20-year period?
Well, I didn't get enough support for myself is the answer, because we were also a military family. And with the military, you can take advantage of the EFNP program, which I do highly, highly recommend.
So that's like an employee assistance program?
It stands for Exceptional Family Member Program.
Okay.
So when you enroll in that your child in that program, you can take advantage of respite care services. And they even cover, like now they cover ABA, which is applied behavior analysis or I believe that they do, for, children with autism. So it's very good, but I think the hurdle for me was it is a lot of hurdles to jump through all of that paperwork. And, looking back at those 20 years, I should have taken way more advantage of the respite care, right? I think this is common with us moms that have children with special needs, is that we don't want to trust other people, with our loved ones, and, we're hesitant to do that. And so I would just say, just take it one step at a time, but just as long as you're moving forward towards that support, because the longer you put off getting that support, the faster you're going to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just really important to get that support.
And it sounds like you were saying you were just so excited and hungry to fulfill yourself when the time was right for you after the intensive period of caregiving.
Yes. When I gotten the kids to a place where I felt like they had reached their full potential, right? Because my son was now able to communicate, which was a major focus for me, obviously. Just my heart ached because I couldn't connect with him through communication. And so I just had to I felt like I had to find a way, right? And it took a lot of effort, but of course it was worth it. And also I've helped people with that as well. And so that is one of the things that I can help you with, is build that communication and that relationship with your child or even your spouse, right? So I coach on everything in life and in business. So with all of these wonderful strategies that I have, and also like how to relieve your stress and learn how to live in the present moment. And I think that is so important, especially when, we're with our children. What can happen is whenever we're worried, right, about whatever it is, I used to worry a lot about what will happen when I'm gone.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And I really couldn't rest until I figured out the answers to that. I think worry can be a signal for that it's, time for us to take action.
So what was the answer to your question that you were worrying about their future? How did you answer that? How did you reconcile yourself to that?
I actually did some research and I decided on a certain type of life insurance called universal variable life insurance, where it goes beyond the term, right? So that when my husband and I pass, they're still going to get an inheritance. And just, that combined with investing and then finding a guardian for, my children, because we're not going to live forever.
No.
And just making sure that all of those kinds of affairs and the legal, stuff's in order. Now that I have that taken care of, I can rest assured that if something were to happen to us, that they will be taken care of.
That's awesome. Thank you for answering that. I know it probably was a little out of your comfort zone to share that, but having a plan, knowing that you've thought it through, who's going to take care of them, they've got financial resources, having that all set, it took effort, but it also relieved you of some unanswered questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just find that it's important that we learn to live in the present moment. This is what I help my clients do, because we can't, predict the future.
No.
Right. And from a mindset coaching point of view, whenever we're in any kind of negative emotion like worry, that actually doesn't motivate us to take action, because the way that the mindset model works is our thoughts create our feelings motivate our actions, and our actions give us our results. So if we are constantly in a state of worry, then when we're in a state of being worried, we tend just to spin in the thoughts of everything that we're worried about without taking that action, right? And so it's my job when I'm coaching a client to help them get to that more positive thought, right? Find another thought that will empower them to take action, and just focus on the vision of where my client wants to be and what we want to happen. And then we can feel empowered to take action.
So you get them to stop that cycle, to
exactly
take that step off the treadmill, shall we say?
Yeah, you are so right. It's this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Of that's what our negative thoughts put us in.
So you make for a productive outcome.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that you take your experience and you can relate to so many folks, because you have struggled through the caregiving, you have struggled through what your children have experienced, and it's impacted you, and you're ready to teach and share with other people.
Yes, I love to do that. Yeah, I just feel like I'm living my purpose, like I said, helping other people live their purpose through their lives and businesses. So,
and being a resource for caregivers who are stuck, who don't know
that
resources are out there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, even if your calling is, you feel like, to be the best parent you can be, I can help you do that, right? I can help you. It's whatever you feel like your purpose is, right? Or even if you don't know, we can explore what that is.
I was going to say, what if you don't know what your purpose is?
Yeah. Well, I actually offer a free breakthrough session. And there was one client that, I helped her discover what her purpose was on that call.
Really?
Yes, she found out that she wanted to start an organization business. So I am still coaching her on that now. We're working towards that.
That's an exciting venture for both of you.
Yes, it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, can you tell me what a mindset coach does?
So I, first of all, listen for those automatic negative thoughts and limiting beliefs that we all have, because we're all human, and 80% of our thoughts are negative, according to the National Science Foundation. So first of all, my job is to listen, right, to what's coming out naturally. And then I help you refocus on a more empowering thought that you also believe. And from that place, then you're going to be motivated to take action towards your goals. So on the free breakthrough session, we talk about what would the vision of your most fulfilling life look like, right? To you, if you had the most amazing life, what would that look like? And then through the coaching, I coach you to overcome all those limiting beliefs that are stopping you from being there right now, right? So the only reason why you're not where you want to be right now is because of those limiting beliefs that are getting in your way.
And those negative voices that you're listening to. I remember when we first met on our pre-interview chat, I think you called me out on something that you heard was negative that I was saying. I can't remember what it was, but it just, you just reminded me of that when we were talking. It's like, oh, I'm calling you out on that, Allison.
I think I remember. Yes, I kind of remember what it is, but I'll let that stay between us.
Yeah, I think it should. But you also, in that first chat, you also talked about time management and your way of thinking about time management. So do you want to talk a little bit about your take on time management?
Yes. And what's interesting is that we actually have, so I'm certified through the Life Coach School, and there is a time management program in there. But, time actually can't be managed because time just exists. So only our minds can be managed around time. And so that's why the mindset coaching is such an important key to the time management, right? Because, again, we all have the same amount of time. But of course, we don't know when we're going to pass. None of us knows actually how much time we have on this planet. So it's just so important to understand that time is limited on this earth. So an important part of the mindset coaching is we look at the facts, which are our circumstances, versus our thoughts about the facts. So, because again, it's our thoughts that end up creating our result. So if I have a thought, which is my prevalent limiting belief, is I don't have time, as I do have the 2 kids with special needs, right? And I am running a business and everything. So that's the thought that comes to me automatically the most, is I don't have time to do what I want to do in my business. But I know not to focus on that, because if I'm focused on that, then my thoughts create my results. And then that's going to be my result, is that I don't have enough time. Because what happens is our thoughts create our feelings. If I'm thinking I don't have time, then I feel overwhelmed just thinking about everything that I have to do without actually getting things done. And so this is actually something that I've coached other busy mompreneurs on quite a bit, right? To get out of that overwhelm and to refocus on a more empowering thought, because it really is about our mindset more than it is about learning how to manage time.
Now, you mentioned mompreneurs.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that it's clear so folks can hear that. So mompreneurs, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes. So I just feel like I'm specially qualified to coach mompreneurs for sure, because we have to do all the things, right? We're not willing to compromise on any of our most important life zones. So family, business, health, like it's all important. And thankfully, I have a strategy for that. So yeah, I love coaching mompreneurs on how to achieve their ambitious business goals while having that work-life balance. I just think that's so important.
Well, it is important. And you said earlier how you struggled with what many mothers or parents struggle with, is letting go of the control of nobody can look after your children the same way that you can. And that's a limiting maybe way of looking at it, but
yeah.
It's a trust thing and it's a control thing.
Yes. And we need support. So anybody who's listening, whenever you have any kind of negative thought like that come into your mind, I would just encourage you to try to focus on, instead of like what you think is impossible, right? Or the negative, focus on what you want, right? Because energy goes where energy flows, or energy flows where energy goes, or something like that. So what we want to do is focus on what we want instead of worrying about what we don't want to happen.
That's a great summary.
Yes, that's a great summary of what I do.
So focus on what we want instead of spending time worrying about what we don't want.
Yes, I would say that is a perfect summary for what I do each and every session.
Perfect.
There we go.
There we go. We are not done yet, Natalie. We are not done. So you've had lots of takeaways from your caregiving. You've learned a lot. You now share a lot through what you've learned. What would you say was your biggest struggle as a caregiver?
It was definitely getting that support that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was finding the trusted caregiver. And honestly, I still have that struggle today, because we just moved here to Colorado, and I had a hard time finding a caregiver. Like, I was looking for someone to watch the kids a few hours a day before they went to day program. And so I finally found someone. And then it was, okay, well, I'll just ask her for the, occasional date night. And we were just going to do once a month date night. And guess what? The past 2 months, she has ghosted me.
Oh,
So I'm going to have to get back on care.com. I know. It's like, really? Because the first month I thought, oh, well, she just got busy and she missed this message. And then, I texted her again for this month and nothing. So I barely found her to begin with. And again, like, be careful of all those negatives, right? That like they come to us automatically, right? So, because what we can do is think about, how am I going to find someone? It's like focus what we just talked about, right? Focus on the vision of us having what we want. And then that's when our brain starts to get really resourceful and look for the how. So the first step is like visualizing that it's possible, right? So if I focus on, okay, well, I will definitely be able to find a caregiver. Like, that's an affirmation I could repeat to myself. I will definitely be able to find it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So when we go from, so I'm like coaching myself right now. When we go from, it's hard for me to find a caregiver. So that's a negative, right? To, I can definitely find a caregiver. Now, like, most of my clients can't do that 180, right? So that's where I need to come in, right? To help you get to that more empowering place. But just in general, and to anybody who's listening, just, try not to focus on the negative. Like we said before, focus on what you want and how it is possible to get it. And then your brain will see, oh, well, I know how it's possible. There's not only care.com, but there's Facebook groups, and there's asking around the neighbors, and you see,
word of mouth and networking. And like you say, you're new though, and you do want to find someone trustworthy, and you do want to have your date night.
Yes, I do. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation today, because I need to make sure that I get that into my schedule and start taking steps towards that, because it is very important.
It is extremely important to keep nurturing your relationship with your partner, with your husband, as well as taking care of the needs of your special needs children.
Absolutely.
So your children both still live with you?
Yes.
And you cannot leave them unattended?
My son, we do, but for not overnight, but for hours at a time. Yet, but my daughter, no. Okay. And I wouldn't entrust my son to take care of my daughter. So we do need to find a trusted caregiver.
Yeah.
For her. Yeah.
How long have you been in your new location?
It's been since last August. So about half a year.
About a year.
It's amazing how time flies.
I know. We can't manage it.
No, we can't stop it.
See, I was listening.
You were.
Yeah, so that is a huge struggle for you. I think, like finding a trusted care provider for you. Trust, I think, is the operative word there.
I have been able to find, and so I do like to, like I said, I do like to use care.com, and I like that you can interview the person beforehand. So that's how I make sure that I do trust them, is, getting the referrals and interviewing them. And so, yeah, it is possible. I have found a few trusted caregivers in my time.
Well, from getting to know you a little bit, I think you're very resourceful.
Thank you. Yes, I have had to be very resourceful.
Yeah. So you reached out when you were ready, and when you had, your children had reached what you say is their full potential. You read the book written by Tony Robbins.
Yes, Awaken the Giant Within.
And that was what got you on your road to what you do now?
Yes, it is. I love the book. He talks about we all have 6 essential human needs. Well, this was actually part of our training when I joined his coaching institute. He talks about the human needs, several human needs in that book. And then in the training, we learned that we all have 6 essential human needs. So if we're not fulfilled in our lives, then more than likely one or more of our 6 essential human needs are not being met. So I had that loving connection in my life, which is the most important of the human needs for me, because I had just, learned how to connect with my son and have that conversation with him. But I was missing that significance, growth, and contribution that my coaching career now provides. Because I just feel like I'm living my purpose, helping other women live their purpose and make their impact on the world through their lives and their businesses.
I wrote a few notes when we first chatted, and living your purpose or living my purpose was what I kind of put as our headline. And I think that is what you exude. That is what you put forth. So living your purpose. And I love that. And you found that out of caregiving, and you found that out of exploring what your personal needs were to find what your purpose was.
Yes. And I do recommend reading books as a vehicle where you can find that, right? You can find your own purpose. And I also, meditated on it and prayed on it. And so those are just, a few of the ways that brought me to my purpose.
Yep. So what does the future look like for you? And I know you have a vision.
Yes, because it's so funny because we have an impossible goal program in the life coach school. And so my impossible goal last year was to make $200K in my business and make time to enjoy my life with the 2 kids with special needs still living at home. And then for each of those parts of it, the goal has to be measurable. So I had measured making time to enjoy my life is going on a girls' trip, going on to, a training or a mastermind in person, going on a family trip. So at least 3 trips per year. And then, making the 200K in my business. So what's funny is that as I focused on that vision, I found the more and more I was enjoying life just on a daily basis.
Well done.
As it turns out, you don't have to be on a trip to enjoy life, right? And so it's focusing on the vision of what we want, right? And then taking action towards that. And so my impossible goal, actually, now I call it my possible goal. Mm. Because the more I focused on it, the more that it's becoming a reality, the more that it's possible, right?
And that's because your mindset has changed.
Exactly. And I just got back from my training in Miami Beach. It was called Work Hard, Play Hard through the Life Coach School. And so, I learned about that training. I'm like, well, that's definitely for me. So I'm making it happen. My husband took off work to take care of the kids, and I am working on making my vision become a reality.
Well, good for you. And I love the title of that training, Work Hard, Play Hard.
Yes.
No wonder you were attracted to that.
Yes, I knew that. I had to go to that one. So, and I actually just in my Facebook group, I have a Facebook group called Confident Women Thrive in Business. And so it's Confident Women Thrive 1 in Facebook groups, just the number 1. And I actually did my last Facebook Live on that.
On Work Hard, Play Hard.
Yeah, I did, because it's the concept of, I ended up calling it, I didn't call it Work Hard, Play Hard, but it was how do you work hard without burning out? And bring in some of the lessons that I learned while I was on that training. It's we've got to give ourselves that time, right, to play hard, which I'm still working on that for myself. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners are still working on that, because I just know how, as caregivers are, and we just want to give, we want our kids to reach their full potential, right? So we just give and give and give. And then we don't give as much to ourselves as we probably should. And that's how we would burn out.
That's caregivers across any type of caregiving situation.
Absolutely.
You are always giving. You're giving of yourself. You're giving of your time. You're giving of your energy, your resources, your financial resources. You're giving of your own health. It is really hard to stop giving all of the time when you're in a caregiving situation. And so that's why speaking to folks like you is so important, because we know that there are people that we can reach out to get supports, to get ideas, and to learn how not to burn out when caregiving and giving hard.
Yes. And so definitely that's how I can definitely help anyone listening, is whether or not you have a business, right? It's like, that's what my coaching is all about. So it's like, how can you find fulfillment through the 6 human needs? And part of it, it's like, yeah, how can you fill your own cup, right? How can we'll identify again, like your 5 most important life zones, so that you are giving to yourself. It's not only about the family, right? Or that person that you're caring for. It's like, what are the other areas in your life, right, that are important to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how folks can reach you. You've talked about your Facebook group.
Yeah.
But let's start with your website.
Okay. My website is limitlesslifecoach.net. And I better add this because it will be soon changing to nataliehankins.com. But as of this point in time, go to limitlesslifecoach.net. And like I said, you could schedule a free breakthrough session. And I would love to do that with you. And we'll look at what are your most important goals in life and in business, and what is the vision of your most amazing life, and how you can break through any of those limiting beliefs that are holding you back from having that.
And you will be listening and you will hear.
There you go. That's what I do.
And how about Instagram, Natalie? How can folks reach you on Instagram?
I'm at natalie.hankins.life.coach.
Okay. And LinkedIn?
I think it's Natalie Hankins Confidence Coach.
Okay.
On LinkedIn.
Are you on Twitter?
No.
Are you on TikTok?
Yes, I am. I'm nataliehankins.mindset.
Okay.
TikTok. I started on TikTok.
I can see you on TikTok. You have that energy. I don't have the energy for TikTok.
Well, I just hired a coach. So she helps me get on TikTok. And I am enjoying it, because I do find that my energy is higher when you have to condense it down into 90 seconds. At first, I thought it was less than a minute. So then I had to really start talking fast. But, it's all good. It's a learning curve. I think everyone needs a coach.
That's a good note to end on, but I don't want to end yet. But
okay.
Everyone can use a coach.
Well, for sure. Yeah. If you have a goal that you're working towards, you're just going to get there a lot faster with a coach. Because again, we can't push ourselves out of our own comfort zone.
Well, and sometimes we have really limited our own vision and our own goal. And like you say, you have the impossible goal.
Yep.
Which for yourself is becoming a possible goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's definitely something that we'll talk about on the breakthrough session, because a lot of people come to me and they're not setting the bar very high at all. Right. I always ask, like, what is your, we're just put the for business example, right? How much money do you want to make in your business this year? And people are hesitant to even set a goal, period, because they're looking at the past They don't want to let themselves down, right? Based on what they've tried to achieve in the past. So it's really important that, again, you don't have to set a realistic goal, right? You don't have to set a goal based on what you've done in the past. That is not what my coaching is about. I'm going to help you achieve the goal that you really want. That is what it's all about.
So it's like an idealistic vision board that you're helping folks
Oh,
create.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked about everybody should have a coach as probably a tip that you can offer. Is there another tip you'd like to share?
The biggest determinant of success is the belief that you can do it.
Love it.
That's from the mouth of Brooke Castillo, founder of the Life Coach School.
Right.
And she makes millions of dollars every year as a life coach. And so I'm also a confidence coach. So you just have to believe in yourself. One tip to get that confidence, to access that confidence, right, is make a list of like all of your accomplishments, big and small. Even if you think it's small, like graduating from high school, that's an accomplishment. Make a list of all your accomplishments and really brainstorm, right? And then it's like, look at those and then ask yourself, what are the core values that helped me to achieve those goals? So I know that my determination always brings me the gift of success. When I look at how I helped my son increase his verbal IQ by 29 points, literally, there's nothing I can't do after that, because that was mission impossible, really. I mean, anybody who has a child with autism knows what I'm talking about. It's like, you really think you have those times where you think it is impossible. They're just never going to talk. But I did a couple of therapies with him that I would say are key for him. And it was relationship development intervention. So that's where I learned the skills to teach him the relationship and developmental skills. And it's a program developed by Dr. Steve Gutstein, who's a developmental psychologist who based the stages on typical development. And then also visualization, verbalization by Lindamood-Bell, which actually my son still does today, to help him with that concept imagery so he can picture what he reads and picture language. And then, it's not a regurgitation, right? When he first has to picture it and then verbalize it. So those are, I would say, the two most important therapies that brought him to where he is now. We did speech therapy. I did not find that to be very helpful for him. It just, like I said, it was really hard to get through to him. And it just took those two therapies. I feel like those are the ones that finally broke through.
Well, there's the breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
This is you living what you teach. How beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And you explored different therapies to find the one that would work, or the two that would really work for him and for yourself. Like you said, you had such discipline and conviction to move forward and to get this. You were determined.
Yes.
Success.
Yes. And that's really key in business too. It's like, we just have to keep going until we find what works, right? I mean, I think it applies to just about everything. I don't know if you've read the book Think and Grow Rich, but that's another great one. And when I read that book, I'm like, I know the secret, because I've already achieved an impossible goal of helping me with my son, help him to improve his verbal IQ by 29 points. It's like, if we have that belief that it's possible and we have that burning desire to achieve a goal, we're never going to stop until we find the answers, right? Until we achieve it.
So do you have time for sharing one tidbit about yourself? This is completely unrelated to anything we've spoken about.
Okay. So a fun fact is that I am a certified Zumba instructor and work instructor. And work is hip hop aerobics.
Oh.
Yeah. So I love to dance.
I would love to sign up for one of your Zumbas. Do you do them online?
No, don't do them online because I'm so entrenched in my coaching business now. So I actually don't teach right now. But
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But that's fun. That's very fun.
It is. It is so much fun.
And that's your energy that I really appreciate.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And thanks for today. And thanks for sharing a glimpse into your life and what you do now for folks, for anyone, as a coach, mindset coach.
Absolutely.
And breakthrough. Let's break through together and find out how to be successful in caregiving.
Yes. So like I said, if you would like a free breakthrough session, just go to my website at limitlesslifecoach.net.
Thanks, Natalie.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
When Natalie shared how her heart ached because she couldn't connect with her son, she persevered to find the way that worked for them so they could have a rewarding relationship. And through finding the right therapy and approach, her son was able to improve his verbal IQ significantly. And Natalie now enjoys what she calls the miracle of having a conversation with her son. Having achieved this breakthrough helps her face any challenge with determination for success. Such loving determination exemplified her devotion to her children and now empowers her to not only live her purpose passionately, but to share what she has learned to help other women, or should I say mompreneurs, to live their purpose as they make their impact on the world through caregiving or business. Are you ready to have your own breakthrough in caregiving? If so, be sure to contact Natalie for your free breakthrough session. And if you are in the midst of your own caregiving journey and need some supports, I invite you to tap into alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca or Alongside Caregiver Consulting's Facebook page or Instagram account. And thank you for tuning in today, and to Natalie Hankins for sharing your caregiving story. If you don't want to miss future episodes of the Island Treasures podcast, be sure to subscribe. And while you're at it, feel free to leave a rating and a review. See you next episode.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.